It was actually harder than I thought to go in and provide a free service. There's a little bit of skepticism on the prison's part. Why would you want to come in and do this? And, why do you really need to bring in all these instruments? I suppose there was the most skepticism around the rock band program because rock band in general is not seen as a rehabilitative sort of music or a rehabilitative sort of activity. It's often viewed, rock and roll, deviant, sex, drugs, and rock and roll, etc., which was definitely not our program. In fact, meeting people where they are in terms of the music they like can be quite rehabilitative in terms of learning an instrument and all that, and getting good at something from week to week. But we had to provide a lot of information, a lot of kind of um, demonstrating what had been done in the past in different places in order to convince the prison authorities, I guess, that it was a worthwhile activity. Also, bringing instruments in, everything needs to be scanned, everything needs to be provided as a list beforehand. So you need to know exactly what you're taking in. And yeah, so it's a challenge, just like on a real organizational level as well. Often also the prison is quite far away from Vancouver, so it's quite a drive. So there's a commute of about an hour and a half each way in traffic, depending on the timing. And then there's funding, which is the whole other thing. So for Rock Band for Women Rock, I was able to partner with an organization called Instruments of Change, which fundraises every year for things like this. So at the time, we were able to pay ourselves that way. But when I was initially just volunteering, that was just volunteering. So finding funding for these things can be really difficult as well. Again, because there's this idea that music is sort of an unnecessary thing, or it's just, it's not necessarily as important as education or other things that people might learn. There's a view that it's sort of icing on the cake that people don't need, which is definitely not my point of view. But I think there's perception that it's not something that people should get. It's almost like there's this punitive idea that people should be, suffering for what they did instead of rehabilitating and looking at their lives that way. So, so those are some of the things that were a barrier.